Hey guys, welcome to my kitchen. Got a big day today, very excited. Today we're gonna make sauce, gravy, and I'm gonna share with you a recipe from our family, something that my grandmother used to make. And when I think about those memories of sauce, what jumps into my mind is the smell of the kitchen in a fall or autumn time, the smell of garlic and all the seasonings that my grandmother would use. And what's really neat, my grandmother used to have this big pot that she would use in the kitchen, and she had this dowel, and maybe some of you guys have heard me talk about it on some previous videos, but she had this big piece of wood that she would use to roll out her pasta, pie doughs, and she'd use it often to stir her sauce. So really neat. So they still have that at Boreo's as a testament to my grandmother. But in any case, I want to show you a great recipe, something that can be used anytime during the day. Certainly something you can store in the refrigerator, keep it nice and cold, last a couple of weeks. If you seal it up, great. So I'm going to show you exactly how to make it, all right? So that being said, one of the best pieces of advice to get started, we want to use just great ingredients. So we have 2 cans of the San Marzano, and we're going to use the whole tomato. I'm going to show you how to crush that. And then we've got 3 cans of the San Marzano puree. So we want to jump on that. We've got some onion, rosemary, thyme, oregano, and basil. So all those ingredients are going to be blended right in our sauce. So as far as ingredients goes, guys, to get the exact ingredients, why don't you just go right to our YouTube page. It'll be listed right underneath, or you can go to our webpage, which is going to be cookingandtalentwithjoe.com. It's got those recipes along with a lot of other videos. Let's get started. One of the things I want to share with you is just how to prep these tomatoes. So the puree is real easy. It's already all prepped for you. But on the San Marzano tomatoes, we've got these whole, and they're going to be packed in a puree. They usually throw a little basil in there just to give it a little flavor. And you're going to see the tomato is actually in a whole shape. So come on right over here. So here's our San Marzano, right? So I'm gonna open those up. And what I want to show you here, if you can get in there, is you're going to see that the tomato, see how it's whole? See that? It's already peeled. It's all ready to go, okay? And then you're going to see a couple of bits of basil that they put in there. What's great about this, I'll tell you, when you just taste the tomato right out of the can, I mean, it's already a great sauce. What I use is just a little hand blender in here, put it on low, and just gently, so you don't splatter it all over. You're just gonna essentially crush the tomatoes, what you're doing. And again, you're not trying to make a puree, and a puree is gonna be a tomato that's already been crushed, and then they basically filter it. We don't want to do that in this case. We're going to take a whole tomato, and we want to just give it a rough blend. Pan, okay? So what I've got here is we're going to make a lot of sauce here, right? So we've got our pan, and we're going to start with some olive oil. I like to coat the bottom of the pan with olive oil. So if you can get in there, right? I got a nice bath of olive oil. I'm going to turn this on. Now, one of the tips I'm going to tell you is you want to keep the heat low. You don't want to fry. You do not want to fry your garlic or your onion. So if the oil's too hot, you put it in there, it'll fry. You don't want to do that, okay? And you're going to sweat this. Now, this will take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, because what I like to do is I like to go beyond the point where it's translucent. I want to brown it. I actually want to brown it or caramelize the onion and the garlic. That's really what it gives it a rich flavor, a true flavor in the sauce. So I'll tell you, just now, I know my cameraman here is in a full agreement. The smells in this kitchen right now are unbelievable. So, now one of my ingredients that I love to put in there is butter, and you'll see that on my table. But we don't want to put the butter in too early, because we're going to raise the temperature up here, and the butter won't hold well. It doesn't handle the heat as well as an olive oil will. So we've got our extra virgin olive oil, we've got our onion and our garlic, and like I said, we're going to let that set for anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, and we're going to bring that to translucency, and then we're going to bring it to where it's nice golden brown. When it gets nice golden brown, then we're going to add our butter and some other ingredients. And then the fun part is you just let it set. And the benefit of that, you're going to stir the sauce, and then what you're going to do is you're just going to let the kitchen fill with all that aroma. It's going to be fantastic. All right, I'll talk to you guys in a minute. I'm telling you, the smell in there, it's Grandma's kitchen. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab our butter. Now, like I told you before, you don't want to add the butter until you're right where you want to be, because you don't want to burn the butter. The butter can burn on you. So we're going to put the butter in there. And what I'm going to do is I just want the butter to melt. That's all I'm looking to do right here. And that's going to give you a richer sauce. Some people add cream to the sauce, which is not a bad idea. But I'm going to add butter. always right at the end. So we've got the onions and garlic caramelized, so it's bringing out that depth of flavor, that those sugars that start to work their way out of the garlic and the out of the onion. So I'm going to stir this until the butter melts, and then it's really easy after that. We're going to add essentially everything. We're just going to pour everything into the pot, and then your job is to stir the pot. Now, one of the things I did years ago is I took a wooden spoon and I cut the bottom off just to make it flat. That way when I'm stirring, I'm always able to get the bottom of the pan. You just don't want any tomatoes or any of the crushed tomatoes sitting there because they could burn. And I'll tell you, a little bit of burn will ruin your whole sauce. So you want to keep the heat low, stir constantly. All right, so we're in really nice shape right here. All right, so everything's melted. You see that? We got a nice, if you will, oil, garlic, onion, and butter, okay? Now, once that's melted, again, you don't want to let that stay too hot to come up to temp because you don't want to burn the butter. Now we're going to essentially just start adding everything, okay? So, if you guys remember, I've got my puree, right? And the trick here is just bring it right down and pour it right off to the side. That way it won't splatter on you. And that's going to cool it down almost instantly, right? Now, if you guys remember, here's our homemade crust, right? So, same thing. Just get it up to the side. Put your paddle up against it. You just don't want to splatter. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay. And that's it, San Marzano tomato. I'll tell you, just to smell it right now. Oh, the smell of the sauce, fantastic. Okay, guys, here you go. Look at that. Is that beautiful or is that beautiful? So now we've got everything in as far as our tomatoes go. And you're going to stir that across, and oh my God, the smell of that is incredible. And now what we want to do is we want all those flavors to marry, but now we want to season it. So now we want to add all of our seasoning, okay? So we've got oregano and we've got basil, so we're going to add that. We've got rosemary, and I'm going to add the fresh parsley. I just want to leave a little bit left over for a garnish, okay? Just when we plate it. And then we're going to mix that in a little bit. And now we got to season it. Now we're going to season it with salt. I always use the gray sea salt. And you're going to use about 2 tablespoons, give or take, of salt just to start. And then we're going to want a lot of black pepper. So our black pepper, I always tell you, use the fresh black pepper, okay? And you're going to want at least 2 tablespoons of black pepper. I'll have all the ingredients for you on a recipe on a simple sauce right on the website. So this is one of our favorites. And then last but not least, and it's true, my cameraman will vouch for me, we have not had any of the red wine yet, but we definitely want to add some red wine. Now what the red wine does, you're not really trying to pick up the flavor of the wine. What you're trying to do is you're using the alcohol. The alcohol from the wine will actually break down some of the components in the tomato, and it extracts a little bit more flavor out of it. That's why, like when you do a vodka sauce, that's why the vodka, the alcohol there will drive a little bit more of the flavor out of it. So now I'm always going to use about a half of a cup, and I'm just going to pour it over the spoon to a cup. And we've got a double batcher, so I'm going to put just a little bit more. And again, you won't even taste the wine. That's a Chianti wine. You don't want to use something that's too dry or too oaky. Just something simple. And here's the good news. We're done. That's it. Now the rest is time and heat. Now what the heat's going to do is the heat's going to allow everything to marry, and it's going to actually cook the tomato. So when you start to cook the tomato itself, it starts to bring out all those nice hidden flavors of the tomato, and then everything starts to marry with all the different seasonings in there. Oh my God. And then you're going to store this in a refrigerator. Any little bit of sauce you got some homemade meatballs, you got some pasta. If you fry up a little polenta, whatever you got, you can just put a little ladle sauce next to it. Oh my God, it's fantastic. All right, guys, this has been going now for almost 2 hours. If you want to get right in there. Now I keep a cover on it. I don't cover the whole thing just to let some of the steam out, but it's so it doesn't splatter all over. Look at that. Is that just, that's red gold right there, folks. It's absolutely delicious. And the smell, you can smell the onion, the garlic, all your seasoning, and the pomodoro, the tomato, absolutely delicious. So you're going to stir this. Again, you got the flat bottom on the spoon, and you want to make sure you pay attention to this. Stir this down, no more than, I'd say, 10-15 minutes pass before you give it a good stir. Keep the heat nice and low. 2 to 3 hours will go by. As soon as it starts to change that color, it'll actually go from a kind of a pale red to a really deep colored red. Then give it a taste, make sure your seasoning's good, and then you're done. You're going to set it to the side, let it bring down the temperature in whatever dish you're making. I don't care if it's a meatball, I don't care if it's a ravioli or some homemade pasta we're making. It's gonna be absolutely delicious. I'll talk to you guys in a minute. So today's spaghetti, homemade spaghetti, how you doing? Pasta. We're gonna finish it with some homemade sauce. It's gonna be fantastic. That is done, all right? So if you guys are doing portion to portion, I'm gonna grab one of our plates and real simple. There you go, right there, okay? I'm gonna open this up without making a sound of a big band. I'm gonna drizzle a little homemade sauce right over the top. I mean, the smell in this kitchen, oh my God, that is absolutely fantastic. We're gonna come right over here. We're gonna hit it with a little cheese. We're gonna hit it with a little parsley. And that, my friend, is homemade spaghetti with homemade sauce. That is absolutely delicious. I'll tell you, the smell of that with the cheese, oh my God, the parsley. Oh my God. Absolutely fantastic. Like I told you guys before, I'm going to talk with my mouth full here for a minute. But the pasta will stand on its own. It's got such great flavor with the oil and the flour, the salt and the eggs. And then you cover that with that homemade sauce. And the cheese, oh my God. I had to go in for a second. Absolutely delicious. I'll tell you guys, that's probably one of your most traditional meals, one of your most traditional dishes as far as Italian goes. And the smell of that, the taste of that, right back to Grandma's kitchen. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. Thank you so much for letting me share my heritage with you, my traditions. Thanks so much, guys. Bon appetit. I'll talk to you guys next week.
Yes, the good life lets you hide.